Yeah, it's been great so far. I mean, last year I missed the whole of pre-season, so I didn't have this kind of period. Obviously, I got to know the team very quickly and playing the matches. But yeah, the last 2 weeks have been great. I think obviously we've had some new guys come, we've had some young guys join as well. So it's been a nice period to spend sort of day and night together, eating together, training together, and yeah, a great period. And yeah, we've got another couple of games left, but so far it's been really good. Yeah, no, growing up I was very close with my brother and my mum. I think me and my brother, who's 2.5 years younger than me, so we were very close in age, very close together. And now we had a mum who was very focused on us. I think she put us two boys ahead of herself in terms of her own goals, joys and things, just to make sure that me and my brother Jason were sort of focused in school. We had the things we needed, and even though we didn't have much material things, she made sure that she could provide in any ways that she could by actually just being present and being present each day. Yeah, so when I was younger, I was born in London, and then we moved to Kent in Medway, which is about an hour and a half from London. And as soon as we moved into that neighbourhood, my mum I think she saw a judo class up the road in a local school, and she just thought it'd be a good idea for me and my brother to go. So I think I started when I was maybe 5 or 6, and yeah, from there me and my brother just really enjoyed it. And from there I played until I was probably 15, until there was kind of a tipping point as to having to spend more time in one sport. But and even now my son in Saudi Arabia, he started BJJ, which is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's starting the class there, and it's very similar to judo. So yeah, it's kind of gone full circle, which is nice. Yes, now I have quite a few titles. Yeah, won the national competition, went to an international competition and came second. Lost to a Polish guy. He got me in like a headlock that I couldn't get out of. But yeah, we had quite a few with the club that we were from. We had lots of like local different competitions. So I really enjoyed that period. Yeah, I think at that time, especially from like 5 to 15, I was playing many different sports. I think judo was one, football, but like rugby, cricket, athletics. I think each day there was some type of activity. I think me and my brother were just kind of sport mad and all different things. And yeah, when it kind of got to sort of 15, 16, kind of had to play more days training with football or more days training with rugby and things. So that's when I had to start to narrow down some of the things. But no, I had a great kind of 10-year stint in judo. Yeah, I think she felt it was important for us to try as many. We love sports, but I think it was good to try as many different sports. I mean, football was our favourite, but I think the ability to be able to try different things. So I think it was good that she pushed us into many different sports alongside obviously keeping up with our studies. I think ultimately it was giving us different opportunities for when the time comes as to which one you might favour. Yeah, so I guess I arrived professional football quite late. I think normally when you get to about 15, 16 is when you go to some of the professional clubs and you kind of get scholarships for a couple of years and you kind of play in full time. But I wasn't quite good enough at that age to actually get a scholarship. So that's when I stayed in school, did my A-levels. And when I got to 18, I was just finishing my exams, and then I literally chose my universities. So I was going to go to university in like 4 weeks. And then I had 2 trials, one at Fulham, one at Middlesbrough, and got a contract offer at both of them, which I didn't expect. But I think, and especially in importance for today, I think especially for kids who are like wanting to play football, I think the fact that I kind of had my results and studies kind of done, I could have gone to university. I kind of had 2 options. That was the route I thought I was going to go, and then I kind of had football if it worked out. So I kind of had 2 options which gave me the best opportunity. I think when I went into that trial, it was kind of like, sometimes when you're a kid, you want to do so well that you put too much pressure on yourself. But for me, it was like, I really wanted to play football, but if it didn't work out, I was going to go to university. I kind of had my results, so I kind of had that plan A, plan B, shall we say, that I think helped me perform better in the trials as well. Yeah, I think my mum was, shocked. I think my brother was probably shocked. I think, because at the time, although I was still studying, I was playing like non-league football for Maidstone. So I was like 17, 18, this skinny kid playing against all these big non-league strikers standing on me, bigger than me, twice the size. So it was kind of like, I enjoyed football that much that I was kind of playing with men and I was still a boy. But yeah, I think the chance to be able to have a professional contract, I thought it had gone, to be honest. I kind of half given up because I was like, I'm going to uni now, and kind of it was a bit late to get picked up sometimes. But yeah, I think just pure shock and delight. I think the fact, even for myself, I was going to go to signed up with the Fulham reserve team at the time. I knew that I kind of had my A-levels in that, like, I'd go and give this a go for a year, and if it didn't work out, I would just go to university. So I kind of had nothing to lose in ways. So I think that sort of took off the pressure when I went into my first day at Fulham, and then so on, because it was kind of like a lot of people who give up their studies so early, one, football doesn't work out, or coach goes off you, or you're injured, you don't have anything else after that. So I think that I kind of had that other option that I had nothing to lose, so just kind of gave it my all. Fulham was where I was able to make my Premier League debut. I think that was a huge goal. I think when I'm growing up, I'm watching the Premier League, and obviously I'm from England, so that was kind of, everyone wants to play in that. So I think the fact that I was able to do that in my first year in the last game of the season was a huge achievement. And then going to Manchester, I think, was also just super crazy and happened super fast. And yeah, being able to play with some of the superstars there was crazy. And soon after that, I was able to make my England debut, which was another milestone, I think, in Manchester that I will forever remember. And then with Rome, I think it was the fact of when I was deciding whether to leave or not, I never had huge aspirations to play outside of England when I was younger. And then as a few opportunities came up, I had a few offers. It was kind of like, you only get one career, you only get one opportunity. And it was kind of like speaking with my family, and we're like, we have no regrets. So I wanted to just give it a go. And then we kind of went there for a year on loan, ended up staying there for 5 years. So my second kid was born there. So that's now a huge part of our life. And we had some great success there. And then now, kind of from that, it's kind of opened our eyes to another new opportunity in Saudi Arabia with Al-Faya. And yeah, we're pretty much, obviously I've been here. I kind of joined quite late in the season last year, but, or at the start, missing the start. But yeah, it's been a great period so far, and kind of hopefully just getting going. Yes, so that was very surreal. So at the time, I was obviously at Fulham, and there was a lot of discussions in the media and even behind the scenes about where I might go and different clubs. And there was a lot of talk about certain clubs that were getting more profile. And Manchester wasn't really on the radar. I didn't really hear too much. And then we were playing a game, I think we were playing Blackburn away. I was getting off the coach because we got the coach up from London. And the manager, who was at the time Roy Hodgson, kind of pulled me to the side and said, Man United have just put a bid in for you, we've accepted it. And Sir Alex is coming to the hotel in 40 minutes. And I was like, I hadn't heard anything. Like normally you hear about, like all the stories that come in the paper, it's like the player and agent normally know. I had no clue. I was talking to other clubs and knew about them, but Manchester had no idea. So yeah, when he kind of told me that, I was like, oh. So I went to my room. First thing I did was call my mum, because I was just like, who do I call? I don't know. So I called her, and she was just in absolute shock. And then I was like sitting in my room watching the time, like, oh, he's going to be here in 20 minutes. Like, what am I going to say? Is it going to be awkward? I don't know what to say. And then he just came in, and then he was probably there for hour and a half, 2 hours. But he was just, I think how he is, he's kind of that almost granddad energy vibe, put you at ease. And we were just chatting. He was talking about my family, and it was just like such an easy conversation. I would say, let's say we were speaking for an hour and a half. I would say probably for the first hour, I don't think football even got mentioned. I think it was more just a case of getting to know me and my family and kind of my journey to that day. I think he was later on or just before I was deciding whether to join or to go elsewhere or whatever, he also called my mum and was almost putting her at ease, because I was obviously having to move from London to Manchester, and I was 20 at the time, and he called her just, I didn't ask her to, he didn't do it. He just liked to say, oh, I'm going to look after him and all this, and almost put her at ease as well. So I mean, that just shows the kind of man that he is. I guess one of my other doubts of whether I wanted to join at the time was the fact that they had some of the best centre-backs in the world at the time. Ferdinand, Vidic, there was Wes Brown, John O'Shea, Johnny Evans. And I wanted to make sure that I would play wherever I moved to. Obviously, I was going to hopefully move to a bigger club, but I wanted to make sure that I play, and he kind of reassured me that I would play. And literally, at the end of that first season, I think I played 35 or 40 matches. So I guess he wasn't afraid to put in young persons. So that was great. And yeah, and then obviously being able to play such a big part in that first season and winning the title, I mean, yeah, it was just truly crazy that whole year. And obviously since then, there's been quite a few different cups and things, but it's not been the same consistency. There's been a lot of change on many areas of the club, and no, fingers crossed they can turn it around, because it's the type of club that deserves to be at the very top and being spoken about in the top part of the table. Yeah, it's no, I guess it's nice to be able to almost leave a club and be held in high regard. I think in terms of when I go back to Manchester, or likewise going back to Rome, and then hopefully many years, touch wood, come back to Saudi and be remembered for the experience and the effort, and hopefully the hard work that hopefully gets perceived amongst the fans here. So I think that's what I kind of want to leave, something that you can be well remembered and well thought of, not just as a footballer, but also as a good person. Yeah, I think even when I speak to other players or younger players now, I think it doesn't matter if you're billed as the next Messi or Ronaldo. When you're 17, you're going to have, it's a roller coaster. I think, as I was saying earlier, like football is, I think you need to ride those good ways, and then sometimes when the lows come, whether it's selection, injuries, or whatever happens, I think the longevity of a player's career is being able to handle those key moments. And I think it's not always easy. I think I've had times where it's got to me, and then you want to come home, but you've obviously got the family and you've been away, but then ultimately deep down you're like sad because of whatever's gone on, whether because you got an injury or because you fell out with a manager or whatever. It can be very hard times. I think you can have real lows and real highs. Yeah, being able to try and manage that is not always easy, but I think as your career goes and as you get older, I think it's easier to manage. I think as young players, I think being able to manage that is a large part of that is also with ability, being able to handle those hand in hand. Yeah, I think, especially also media in England can be a lot, and especially if you're at one of the biggest clubs. I think one way or the other, you can either be a superstar one day and then the worst player in the world the next. So I think, especially earlier in my career, I think at those certain times, had such great highs, and then sometimes a bad performance can be like, oh, it needs to be sold, it needs to be this. And I think very difficult to deal with. You try to have close people around you with your family, but ultimately I think you're trying to train yourself to take on the advice of, say, my manager or close family or that client circle, whereas all of the noise, the comments on social media, the things in the paper are kind of out of your control, and it's easier said than done. You can't just block them all out. But I also saw a sports psychologist actually, and at the time that was kind of when I moved to Manchester, and I hadn't had many lows then. I was kind of just up, but I saw him, and because he was well recommended from some other people, but it was almost in terms of bringing my focus on a few different things that I can have in my control on the pitch, in terms of like being aggressive, being dominant, being loud. That was kind of my three mantras when I went onto the pitch. So those kind of things help block out some of the noise or some of the other things that you maybe going into a game because you know, oh, you have to win this because of it's a final or whatever. But I think also being able to speak to someone like that and narrow my focus helps to just block out the 20 things that are trying to get in your mind. So that was a big help as well. Yes. You mean my injury at Roma before coming here? Yeah, so that was, I mean, I've had a few injuries, the odd groin, I broke my toe in Manchester, but they were kind of a few months at a time. But the time in Rome was, super tough. I kind of came off the back of Player of the Year that season. We'd just won the Conference League, and I just signed a new contract as well. So then I was going into this new season, obviously on a super high, and then I kind of had a really bad fall on my knee in pre-season, and there was differences of opinion in terms of how the injury was, and I had so many stop-starts that season that I played very few games, wasn't able to actually contribute, and mentally that was one of the toughest periods because there was such an unknown. Like normally if you had an injury, it's like, okay, you're out for 3 months. This is the schedule. It's a blow at the start, but you kind of can see the path. Whereas I was trying something and thinking, okay, 6 weeks, no. Then it was like, oh, we have to try something else. And literally the whole season was just, I didn't actually know. I even doubted myself towards the end of that season because I didn't know what the answer is. I'd seen so many different people and they kind of said different things. We tried different things, but there just wasn't a solution. And I was, yeah, super low moment. And then thankfully, kind of in that off season, we tried some different things, and I came back the following season, in pre-season, and kind of hit the ground running. And then obviously I was able to improve my fitness, and then obviously the move came here, and touch wood, last season was good injury wise, and hopefully this year inshallah it will be as well. But yeah, that was a very dark moment because of the uncertainty. What kept me positive? I think the fact that I wouldn't give up. I think deep down I knew that despite the setbacks, despite the unknown, I kind of got through so much in my life that I wasn't going to let something like this defeat me, even if there was differences of opinion as to what to do, operation, injections, different rehab. I was just certain that I would see the light at the end of the tunnel, and at times I felt like I couldn't when I was in the midst of it, but I knew that my time wasn't ready to stop because of this. I knew that I had so much more to give, and yeah, rising from that has shown that was true. I think having my family, having my kids was a huge support. I think at times, even when you're going through that and you're kind of going home and your family's so happy to see the kids, and it obviously helps, but sometimes when you're in those really dark moments, it's super tough to even raise it for your family. So, but yeah, without them, I definitely wouldn't have been able to get through that period. Yeah, definitely. I think football moves so fast that you kind of celebrate, I don't know, a title, an achievement going to a World Cup or an achievement or whatever it is, but soon after it's either a next game next week, or you kind of have the summer and then it's a new season, whereas, so you kind of enjoy those moments, but I think hopefully in a few years when obviously I stop, that I can obviously sit down and enjoy and relive a lot of those, but at the time it's kind of like, there's more to come. So it's kind of like, okay, that's been great, but not until I stop will I really kind of sit down and just take it all in. Yeah, definitely. I think that also stems from me wanting to, when I mentioned about leaving a good impression in England, in Italy, or in Saudi, it's kind of like, okay, I'd like to be looked back as a good player, but also a good person who's impacted more than just on the football pitch. And I think that's something where a lot of, I guess, my charity work and initiatives have kind of stemmed from, because I know how difficult it can be for young people to get an opportunity, and that's where Football Beyond Borders in England kind of stemmed from, because getting that opportunity and getting overlooked, I think, is huge. So that was a huge one, and also having impacts in other countries. My wife's charity that she started working with, Share Tanzania, which really helps vulnerable kids who are in very difficult situations, and that's been a huge part of both of us and moving forward. So yeah, we're very, very passionate about helping on different projects where we can, because we know the fortunate position that we're in, and now we feel like we can have a real impact in many ways, and not just giving money, but also in helping set up different initiatives, different raises, and being able to see it first and foremost and shine a light on these important things. Be very fortunate for myself and for my family is one thing, but also being able to impact others and see journeys of people. Like, for example, in Football Beyond Borders, I met some very young kids at the very beginning, and then we were having I'm still involved, so it's kind of like years later I'm having Zoom calls with them, and they're like totally different people, and they're now going off to different schools, and they're like telling me their story as to how these different people have impacted their life. And it's knowing that it feels so good knowing that I've had a small impact on that, and those things will really sit with me long after sort of the number of trophies that I may win. Yeah, I mean, growing up, and then even till then, I mean, I was, 2017, whatever it is. So I've kind of had a lot of my adult life, and there was no actually thought around that. I wasn't aware of potential benefits or whatever in terms of changing my diet. I kind of ate everything and was no issues there. But I think I kind of had people close to me that were exploring the vegan diet, and my wife was one who she kind of started just before me. But so at home she was trialing and experimenting on a lot of vegan food, and she's a very good chef. So even before she was making all the different chickens and stuff, she would just kind of take out the chicken for another protein source. But so she's able to make the good flavors, the sauces and stuff. So and then quite often when I was out and about, I was kind of just eating my normal diet, should we say, other chicken, fishes and stuff. But the fact that I was eating more vegan, the only thing that I'd kind of cut out was red meat. I was eating a lot less. And at the time in United, I kind of had tendinitis, which is obviously quite popular with a lot of footballers. And I noticed that when I was reduced in the red meat, because I was eating quite a bit more vegan at home, kind of really the pain reduced. Like I was having to for a good year or so when I was at United, having to warm up a lot, and then even the training sessions, it would take a bit of time to get going, and then it would kind of subside. But I was noticing that the less red meat I was eating, this was kind of reducing. I wasn't doing anything else, wasn't doing any other pre-activation work, gym or other treatments. It was that was just the difference. So then I kind of cut out the red meat. This kind of went, which was super surprising. And then I kind of, over that next year, I didn't just go one day, just cut everything out, but then it was kind of like chicken and fish. The last thing was eggs. And then I kind of, over that transition of a year, kind of did that. And then I did notice, obviously I had this is what stemmed the tendonitis. That was kind of kept me going, and was thinking, okay. And then I was feeling better as well in terms of my recovery. We were doing different testings, like after matches and different things, and I was recovering quicker. I was even setting new PBs in the gym. Obviously I was getting older and stronger, so that might have happened anyway, even if I wasn't vegan, but I felt like that was helping. So that was kind of what set me on the road and kind of not look back. To be honest, when I left England and then I was going to Rome, so Italy, it's also another country that you might think, oh, here we go. But it was kind of like when I went there, I didn't know what to expect. Obviously, I didn't speak Italian at the time, so it was just kind of but I mean, Rome were really good in terms of, the chef came to me and said, look, I've got all these different ideas. And it was the same when I came here in terms of the nutritionist and the people here, they knew about my history, they had all the options, so that was kind of great. But in terms of living, also in Rome, but also in Saudi Arabia, there are so many different places that also offer, and even the places that offer all the chicken and beef, there's also so many other options as well. So, and even in the shops and things in terms of fruits and vegetables and things. So in terms of actually adjusting, it's been really easy. And I think it helped. We knew that moving to another country, we could kind of adapt and trial that process. So it's been really easy. This also happened quite quickly. I think I obviously had a great season, a good few seasons at Rome. Then I had obviously this injury, but then I was coming back pre-season, was playing all the games, was fine. At the start of it, I didn't think I would be leaving. I was kind of, had my head placed that was, okay, well, we'll stay here. But then kind of the opportunity started to come where people from Saudi Arabia started to reach out and wanted to open that discussion. And I've never closed the door on anything, even if I was at the time very happy in Rome. I obviously had young kids as well, so we were quite settled. But then I'm always open for new experiences, and I knew some other people that had joined here in Saudi who had also said very good things. So when those discussions started, it kind of then evolved very quickly to the move happening and having sort of discussions sort of further up the chain with the club. When I was at Rome, actually, Roger Ibanez, I was playing with him at Rome, and then he left the year before to come to Saudi Arabia. So, and he was one of the earlier European players, and I guess in that summer when there was quite a lot of that came in. So he was someone who I knew quite well. And even playing in Italy, a lot of the players that moved, like Koulibaly, Milinkovic-Savic, Mitrovic, who's obviously played against him many times at Fulham and Newcastle. So there were quite a few familiar faces that I knew that came over, said great things, been shown great things, and you could see there was obviously an evolution, and each month, each summer, the momentum seems to just be gathering, and it's nice to actually be a part of that, which is, I think, super exciting to almost be a part of. The hardest thing, well, I guess the heat was one. So that was kind of, okay, that's something to get used to. But yeah, I think obviously I arrived on my own, and I was on my own for quite a few weeks in terms of, obviously once you see the different houses, the schools for the kids and stuff. So, but equally I was excited in that time because I was exploring. I was obviously showing videos to my wife to say, okay, this is where the club is, this is where the local stuff is. So I don't think there was any real difficulties, so the club made it really helpful. But I think, yeah, like you settling in any new environment, I think it's just getting to know faces and getting to know people, which was exciting as well as new. No. Well, you were lucky that you were one of the first ones that we spoke to, which was very helpful. Yeah, no, they've really enjoyed being over here, and that's not just saying it just because I'm here, but they generally, because you hear many stories where families move to different countries, and if the family's not happy, it puts a lot of pressure on the player, because if the family's not happy, that's half of the battle in terms of day-to-day life. Whereas my family have really settled in, and I think obviously the locals have been really accommodating, and obviously there's a lot of expats as well, so it's quite nice. There's a nice mix of different things, and my wife and kids have made a lot of friends, a lot of classes, like my son going to the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I think they're really happy, which makes my job just to focus on the pitch and then enjoy my free time with my family even better. I think the weather, I think lots of different cultures that they meet as well, and being able to go out and like even my son, like going out into the desert, he wants to do a little bit of camping. No, it was super, like that was the first time we'd been, but the beaches and everything were just kind of like, especially like a lot of people, when you go to different beaches, different countries, it's kind of like, you have the Maldives and stuff that's kind of supposed to be like the top of the top. But I must say the Red Sea is very close to that because of I think because it's obviously so untouched for such a long time. I think the beauty is super crazy, and knowing that obviously we're so close to actually just being able to go there on a plane. The Red Sea is wonderful, but I think maybe even Diriyah was probably the place that it kind of, I don't know, didn't expect, but it was just kind of like, wow, which was really, and then obviously we went on a tour around where they talked all about the history, and then you've got obviously that whole line of all different restaurants, which is beautiful, just sat outside. Yeah, so football-wise, yeah, such encouraging signs in terms of the quality of all the teams, and not just the larger teams with bigger budgets, even the other teams, every team's improving. I think even in terms of our own club, in terms of the facilities, the players that are coming, everything is kind of just, the whole league is kind of on the rise, which is perfect. And you're getting a lot of people talking about the country, a lot of people wanting to come, which I think is true testament to kind of what the country's building, and kind of riding that wave of what they're creating, which is no easy feat to be able to battle with some of the other more established leagues over a long time. So to be able to be spoken about in those top ones is perfect. And in terms of living, I think it's been great. I think when I spoke to people that came here, they spoke so glowingly that you're kind of like, great, but is it that good? Because like they were so settled in terms of everything. And then when you come here, and it's kind of like me speaking to some other people that might be coming, it's kind of like I'm speaking so glowingly. So yeah, I think the true thing is that when you do come here, the family, which for me was the biggest, not stumbling block, but the biggest unknown, because I knew the football was just on the rise and I was a part of a growing journey, but knowing that the family could settle in, I think just helps on so many levels, that, and also you get to able to enjoy so much time, because obviously a lot of our trainings, apart from pre-season, we've got double sessions, are kind of more in the evenings, so I actually get to spend some nice mornings with my family, which is also nice. So yeah, having a nice blend and with that.
How you see a Majma?
Yes, so Majma's, we actually we had a pre-season friendly against Crete, and the manager lived in Majma maybe 10 years ago. He was that was quite surreal, that we were kind of, and he was saying about, so I think he'd been not too long and seeing the differences in terms of how it was growing, and so yeah, I think it's really on the rise, and it's got everything that you need there in terms of to live, supermarkets, all this type of stuff. So it's yeah, a nice base for the club to hopefully grow from. I can never thank them enough in terms of just being there, supporting me. I think always being there for a shoulder to cry on, a shoulder to laugh on, and just knowing that I can always rely on them in good times and bad times. And I know I could never repay that enough, but hopefully being able to share different experiences with them, hopefully spend as much time with them. I mean, my brother have been over quite a few times already, and we're planning for them to come back over again soon. So I think, yeah, just being able to cherish and share these experiences is hopefully what I can give back to them. Yeah, for the season ahead is, I think, the second half of last season, we built on something, and now is the time to really kick on and make sure that we start from that base and we kick on, because yeah, we need to put Al further up the table and improve on the second part of last season. And yeah, all our players are working hard to make sure that we deliver for the fans. Thank you. Good to chat.